The Interministerial Committee meeting on the coronavirus deliberates on the actions to solve the pandemic in schools. Prime Minister Joseph John Gote calls for the scrupulous respect of barrier measures, 95% recovery rate in the country. English, French and mathematics course books for primary schools given out free of charge. The states and the World Bank work on the distribution of 4 million textbooks to bridge the accessibility gap for the vulnerable. The West region undergoes a complete overhaul in its road infrastructure. The inhabitants struggle to overcome the inconveniences that come with the development as contracting companies strive to beat deadlines. Good evening and thanks for joining us. Those are the headlines of the 7:30 News.
Each of us must comply with the measures that have been taken.
Government's response strategy against the coronavirus is being monitored by the Interministerial Committee chaired by Prime Minister Joseph John Gote. Today's session had the Ministers of Basic and Secondary Education exhorted to vigorously supervise the application of COVID-19 barrier measures in schools. As Christian Chair Atam reports, it was also revealed during the meeting that 95% of coronavirus cases in Cameroon have recovered.
This session made a pre-evaluation of the resumption of primary and secondary schools in Cameroon 4 days into the 2020-2021 campaign.
And I'm so happy to announce schools in Lobialem that have not been open for the past 3 years are open this year, 3 schools. In Kupemaninu Nguba, they are also open after 3 years. GHS Bomaka, we have schools in mile 16, and we have schools in Moya. Well, everybody who knows those were the hotbeds of rebellion by the separatists.
We resumed the school year with a lot of hope as far as we saw in the southwest and northwest region that classes effectively resumes.
The session also examined the current situation of COVID-19 in Cameroon. Minister Manauda Malachi said the country has recorded 21,203 positive cases, but 20,117 patients have already been declared free of the virus, representing a 95% recovery rate. Prime Minister Joseph John Gote has instructed the 2 ministers of education to ensure that anti-COVID-19 measures in schools remain functional at all times. He has instructed the Minister of Public Health to continue implementing the response plan against COVID-19 rigorously.
School officials have been keen on keeping the coronavirus at bay in the school milieu. This is evident in the systematic temperature checks before access to campus, the compulsory washing of hands with soap and water, as well as the mandatory wearing of face masks for learners and teachers. As Alice Mbe reports, any suspected cases of high temperature or fever is sent for medical attention.
At the government Balingwa High School, Ekunu, authorities say they have employed 3 state-registered nurses for their school.
We have taken all measures prescribed by the government to fight against the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic in our school. We have 3 state nurses in our institution. We have also kept aside 2 halls in case of any suspected case. We have a dispensary, but it is only for students who are sick and not COVID-19 suspected cases.
Here at the group Scolaire Bilingue de Martinez and Balade, there is a school dispensary in the event of any suspected case of COVID-19.
We have a nurse who come and take the child to the infirmary, and then she'll watch the child, and then she'll inform the school authority. The school authority will then inform the parents, and then the parents, together with the school authority, will call 1510.
To assist the government in the fight against coronavirus in the country, school authorities have been implementing strict barrier measures, including the wearing of face masks in their schools.
In one of our top stories, the free distribution of 4 million textbooks to government nursery and primary schools in the country has been launched. The initiative of the states and the World Bank, according to the Minister of Basic Education, Professor Laurent Serge Etuningwa, seeks to render school books specialized in mathematics, English and French gettable. Gerard Nanji Yambe has the details of the program, which kicked off in Yaoundé today.
This is the consignment of 4 million textbooks destined for public primary and nursery schools in the country, an initiative of the government of Cameroon in collaboration with the World Bank to provide free manuals to schools to ensure quality education for all. While launching the free distribution campaign this Thursday in Yaoundé, the Basic Education Board challenged decentralized territorial units to put in place systems for the supervision, management and control of these stocks so that the operation can last over time.
We have 3 levels, level 1, level 2 and level 3. This year, only level 1 is concerned. All the books concerning the top subject of these 3 levels will be distributed to all the pupils in the days ahead. Lorries will be to distribute these books, reach the divisions.
The gift from the head of state is expected to create an enabling environment for personal development and critical thinking. The ceremony was attended by the Board of Approval of School Manuals in the presence of the Chinese ambassador to Cameroon.
Pupils in Donga Mantung Division in the Northwest region will definitely have their share of these free textbooks. But while they wait, they've been beneficiaries of didactic material and other school kits. Scholarships worth 18 million CFA francs were also awarded to outstanding pupils in the area by authorities. Rose Cholenta Afanui tells us more.
These students received financial prizes ranging from 30,000 to 150,000 francs CFA alongside other school materials and bags. Some of them say the assistance will enable them improve on their performance this academic year.
I have determined to go ahead and continue my school so I'll raise the name of our minister. I've received 75,000 francs for the second prize.
Officials in Messager subdivision say the scholarship, which is in its 3rd phase, has raised the standards of pupils and students in the area.
We dove our hearts with Excellency Dr. Fukaris Gentry for this scholarship fund that was again modernized. Last year, whopping 18 million francs to sensitize and mobilize children to go to school.
Anti-COVID-19 materials were distributed to all the schools in the division as part of government's effort to prevent the spread of the pandemic.
Away from the full Callistus Gentry Scholarship in Donga Mantung, small and medium-sized enterprises and social economy organizations will have their activities upgraded with the sum of 2 billion CFA francs. The government aid is to cushion the effects of the coronavirus on the sector that has left business ventures on the verge of collapse. Clarice Array-Takeng presents the preconditions which give access to the funds.
The resources have been secured from the National Solidarity Fund with 24.2 billion CFA francs set aside to stimulate the productive sector. Small and medium-sized enterprises will receive a total of 1.5 billion CFA francs, while handicraft and social economy organizations have been granted 500 million CFA francs to get back into business. For SMEs, proof of a strong growth potential, a drop in activities in certain domains will play in their favor. The idea is to get them running again. For their part, craftspersons and those in social economy organizations must be involved in the production of face masks and hydroalcoholic gel. Evidence of training and being part of an umbrella body will also be required. Application forms will be submitted to regional and divisional delegations of the ministry in charge of SMEs for pre-selection and thereafter forwarded to the Ministry of Finance. The financial package made available is in addition to the 10 billion CFA francs credit line put at the disposal of the Ministry of Finance to boost the activities of small and medium-sized enterprises.
And in order to enable such structures thrive, An international conference on industrialization opened today in Yaoundé, presided over by the Minister of Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises, Social Economy and Handicrafts, Archid Basilican III. The first ever forum in Cameroon focused on the need to design and to manufacture goods in the country. Gerard Nanjie Yambe tells us more.
In an attempt to change the narrative, this first international conference on industrialization is bringing together universities and industries. Such partnership is made manifest through the Innotech Lab and Innovation Center for Technology, Industrialization and Education.
Together with the industry to develop cutting-edge projects, high-level projects in health, in agriculture, in energy, in smart city. And we really think that that will help us deploying all the strategic plans we have regarding development and emergence.
Experts in digitalization, engineering and transformational leadership are establishing an innovation and knowledge bridge with the African diaspora.
If we want to develop our country, it's very, very important to produce and to transform locally.
This tie with the Sustainable Development Goals and Cameroon's 2035 Emergence Vision.
In economic news, the new system for the collection of customs duties and taxes by digital means will go operational on October 15, 2020. The measure instituted by the Ministry of Finance a week ago includes levies on imported telephones and tablet computers. Iwane Pole reports on how the operation will be carried out and its impact on the state coffers.
The decision by the Ministries of Finance and that of Post and Telecommunications concern consumers, importers and the business community in regard to the new system for collecting customs duties and taxes by digital means on the tech gadgets.
Use our platform to identify if your telephone is custom-free or not.
From the characteristics of the apparatus and the value, they will impose the statutory duty rate, which is about 33%.
The levying of such duties and taxes directly on imported telephones and tablets will officially commence on October 15, 2020 through a dedicated government platform as a vehicle for securing customs revenue.
If we fully implement the new system, we should be looking at collecting for the state coffers more than 40 billion per annum.
The new system is an innovative tax collection scheme, also expected to help in securing the means of communication in Cameroon.
We'll now take you to the southwest region where the new management of palm oil plantation has been commissioned into office. Appointed during an extraordinary board meeting of the corporation, Mbile Tapia Solomon, the new Director General, and Mange Donatus Asu, the Deputy Director General, were enjoined to increase production and to foster food security. Henry Mekole reports on the installation and the challenge outlined by Minister Gabriel Mbairobe of Agriculture and Rural Development.
The new general manager and his deputy were installed shortly after the appointment. Speaking during the occasion, the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Gabriel Mbairobe, urged the new team not only to revive palm oil, but equally to increase production and guarantee food security. The new general manager, 52-year-old Mbile Tapia Solomon, said his wealth of experience from CDC and his academic background as an electrical engineer will be key to meeting the challenges that are facing the corporation.
We are quite conscious of the challenges that the company is facing. And for myself, coming from CDC, I would say palm oil is a cousin to the CDC, and the problems and difficulties are similar. So I haven't faced this for quite some time with my former company or my former employer. I believe that one has acquired some skills and techniques over time in this very special dispensation of things, because the management at this time, especially while the socio-political crisis is raging, really hasn't got a clear-cut formula. So you have to depend on a lot of experience and monitor developments on the ground a lot.
Mbile Tapia Solomon will be assisted by Mange Donatus Asu, anthropologist and a former senior management staff of palm oil. Palm oil, which has been seriously affected by the ongoing crisis, was created in 1966. It grows palms and rubber and runs 2 mills and a research center.
In this advertorial, intermittent power failure due to insufficient supply may soon be a thing of the past in the economic capital, Douala. This hope comes from 3 transformers received at the Douala port by the Director General of the Electricity Transmission Company, Sonatrol. The equipment is expected to be installed in the days ahead. Rene Kache has the details.
The aging nature of these transformers at the Logbaba interconnected grid is said to be the main reason for frequent power outages and the limping electricity supply in most parts of the economic capital, Douala. With some transformers as old as 41 years, there was a dire need to replace them and upgrade electricity supply in the country's largest city.
Douala is the biggest city in Cameroon, so the needs are increasing every day, and we have to adjust and adapt ourselves to this movement.
The Cameroon Electricity Transmission Company, Sonatrol, under the leadership of its Director General, is leaving no stone unturned to ensure that Cameroonians enjoy quality electricity supply in quantity. Receiving these 60 MVA transformers at the Douala port, the Chief Executive Officer of Sonatrol outlined that it is a significant boost for Cameroon, especially at a time when the country is gearing up for 2 major continental football extravaganzas. The 3 new equipment will replace the current 35 MVA transformers being currently used. The capacity is thus multiplied twofold.
These are 35 MVA for each. The sum total is 105 MVA. Now we'll replace with 180 MVA to upgrade the capacity of this substation. And you will see it will improve the quality of electricity in the economic capital of the nation.
It was an opportunity for Mbemi Nyakanga to congratulate his collaborators for their commitment while encouraging them not to relent until the entire country is led.
In our Thursday of the Regions, we focus on the state of urban road infrastructure in the West region. Due to a number of projects under construction, the inhabitants of Bafoussam and its environs have a hard time moving from one place to the other. From intense traffic to a flurry of dust or heaps of mud, depending on the season, life is far from easy. Gu Henry Tiesambe presents the state of affairs in this report.
Moving from one part of the city of Bafoussam to another these days is a veritable nightmare. The major streets are either dusty or muddy, depending on the weather. Worse still, there are big holes along the Ndiandam-Madelong stretch. Crossing the city now takes at least 45 minutes for vehicles heading to Buda or Bamenda from Yaoundé. City dwellers have called on the powers that be to do something, and fast. Good enough, the regional delegate of Public Works has said that the bad situation will soon be a thing of the past.
Problem of deflection due to heavy pours of rains. So we have instructed the enterprise in charge, the Chinese company in charge, to maintain the circulation, and we are waiting for the dry season now to finish up the work.
The projects, when realized, will give Bafoussam a facelift.
Cognizant of the difficulties encountered due to the construction works, contracting companies have been burning the candlelight to respect their deadlines. Some parts of the roads have been tarred and others reinforced with cement or baked bricks to ease circulation. Chanceline Nanze reports on the actions taken to remedy the situation.
Leaving from Sokada, passing through the San Thoma roundabout in Toket to Kwongwa was hell for both pedestrians, motorcyclists and car owners. Taking this stretch of road demanded days of planning to be mentally prepared to confront the mud. But the reverse is the case today.
When it rained, it was so muddy, but the road is very good today.
The transformation of the stretch of road from the entrance of the town from Banjul to Tamja into 2 ways has eased traffic circulation.
This road, many people now use it, making business to boom. The road is clean and we are
The town of Bafoussam is gradually being transformed to merit its nickname Bafoussam La Belle. And one thing that's sure is that upcoming national and international events will meet the town in a glamorous state.
In higher education, the Cameroon Academy of Science, holding on the theme Science and the Fight Against COVID-19 has ended. It was chaired by the Minister of State, Minister of Higher Education, Professor Jacques Famendongo. It was intended to promote the understanding of science and quality education in times of crisis. Here's an excerpt of the President of the Cameroon Academy of Science, Professor Bebang Sabichumbo.
We need knowledge to solve our problems. The role and raison d'etre of the Academy of Science is to ensure that advice is given to policymakers so that policies are made based on the input, based on the results of science. All of our meetings during this week access the various halls to see what the scientists and the scientific community has as proposals for the various problems.
The wearing of face masks in public places will be mandatory until further notice.
The new school year is on, and most parents with children at the elementary level are worried about wearing them face masks. Pediatricians advise that it is not mandatory to have them learn or study with these face masks given their age, but like others, it is important that they adhere to the other preventive measures. Baldwin Summer talks with Dr. Epengwe on the issue and also presents the current COVID-19 figures in the country. Hello, Baldwin.
Good evening to you, Esther Kima. Let's give our viewers the latest figures as far as COVID-19 is concerned in the country this Thursday evening. So far, we have 21,203 Cameroonians who have been tested positive for COVID-19 in the country. 20,117 Cameroonians have so far recovered from COVID-19, leaving us with a recovery rate that stands at 95% so far. 423 Cameroonians have died of COVID-19, and we have 663 active cases, talking about the coronavirus in the country. Tonight, with our guest, Dr. Epengwe, who is a pediatrician, we look at children, especially those below the age of 11, how vulnerable they are to the coronavirus and how possible is it for them to contaminate others. Good evening, Doctor.
Good evening, Edwin.
Often and not, it's said pediatricians remind us that children below the age of 11, it's not mandatory for them to wear a face mask. What other measures must they adopt in order to avoid being infected with the coronavirus?
Yes, the precautions are those that are common to all public places, but particularly in schools, we have to avoid mixing of students, especially at the entrance and at breaks. We also recommend to clean and disinfect the locals and the equipment 2 or 3 times per day. Also, it is very important to ventilate more often the classrooms.
As a pediatrician, you tell us children do not necessarily develop a certain degree of the coronavirus. Or how possible is it for others to get contaminated around them?
Yes, if the child is contaminated, he can contaminate the teacher without manifesting any signs. So we advise to teachers to respect strictly the barrier measures, and also parents. If a parent is tested COVID positive, he has to respect quarantine, as well as the children that are in contact with him. Also, if a child presents one of the following signs: fever, cough, sore throat, stomach ache, or diarrhea, he should not be taken to school, but rather to a health facility where he will be examined and tested if necessary.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ebengwe, for being our guest this evening. We remind our viewers of the different figures for tonight. 21,203 Cameroonians tested positive for COVID-19. We have 20,117 Cameroonians who have recovered from the virus, with a recovery rate that stands at 95% so far. 423 Cameroonians have died of COVID-19, with 663 active cases existing in the 10 different regions of the country. Back to you, Esther Kima.
Thanks very much, Borden Sama, for the updates. It is also worth mentioning that the World Health Organization has recently advised that when kids are below 5, it is risky to have them wear face masks. In other news, the resident representative of the African Institute for Computer Sciences has inaugurated the institution's new center in Douala. Claude Abanda and the institution's partners during the ceremony encouraged students defending their end-of-course thesis. Salih Ebenyanyoke tells us more.
The Douala branch of the African Institute of Computer Science has been existing for the past 12 years on different campuses before relocating to this new campus in Daido with more facilities. It was therefore important for the resident representative of EIE alongside his partners to visit the new site and encourage close to 80 students defending their thesis at the end of their 2-year training.
Digitalization is very, very important for modernization of our country.
Partners of EIE Douala appreciate the impact that training at the institution has on the economy and private initiatives, with promises to assist.
We will develop academic programs to compete at the highest level in the world.
This is evident in the thesis the students are defending.
We were in charge of creating a software solution that could efficiently distribute the products in Douala and in Yaoundé. We managed to bring up a transparent solution to the problem where the products can at a real time track the distribution of the products.
EIE Douala trains and computer programming as well as computer system analysis and design that will fast-track the modernization of Cameroon's administrations.
In sports, Cameroon's indomitable Lions intensify training in the Netherlands for their international friendly against Japan tomorrow. The head coach, Antonio Conceição, who looks up for a victory, will have to count on 17 out of the 24 players called to camp. Konde Malong and Andrew Nana, who've tested positive for COVID-19, will not be fielded. Borden Summer reports.
Out of the 24 players called to camp by head coach Antonio Conceição, 3 players were declared unfit for Friday's match, 2 due to injuries, among them Jean-Pierre Samer. Jerome Ongene got in contact with some of his club mates, tested positive for COVID-19, and he has been quarantined. 21 players, therefore, started training on Monday, October 5, with all the players and staff subjected each to a COVID-19 test before the start of the training sessions and were all COVID-19 negative. After 2 days of successive training sessions on Monday and Tuesday, more players were tested, with 2 having mild COVID-19 symptoms but have not developed the illness so far: Andre Onana and Konde Malong. According to the team's doctor, Professor William Gachu, the 2 players are okay and have been quarantined but not available for Friday's match. Mumin Gamalu got in contact with positive cases in his club, and after being quarantined, he will be retested this Friday morning to confirm his readiness for Friday's match against Japan. So far, 17 players are at the disposal of coach Antonio Conceição, and all the players and officials are COVID-19 negative.
Our main story was that the Interministerial Committee meeting on the coronavirus has deliberated on actions to stall the pandemic in schools. Prime Minister Joseph John Gote today called for the scrupulous respect of barrier measures in the country. Join Adel Mbala at 8:30 p.m. for the news in the French language. Tomorrow, your host will be Ben Mbumagana. I'll be back on Monday. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned to our programs on CRTV. Good night.
In this connection, we should avoid stigmatizing.
l'info.